Welcome to the Numerology and Astrology for October 19th, 2021. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 16, and if you add the 1 and the 6 together, you get the number 7. The number 7 links the ideas of the mind with the actions of the physical body and our world. It is the number of rational thought that can manifest great things in our world. It is the process of taking an idea, breaking it down to the smaller pieces, and then organizing those pieces into a sequence that can manifest that dream into a reality. All forms of life require a particular sequence and structure, from the DNA all the way through to the more subtle patterns of behavior, likes, dislikes, and intentions. Our normal days have a structure that we mostly adhere to, such as the time we wake up, the sequence that we do to get to work, what we do to what we prefer to eat, etc. And in some moments like today, we get a chance to reevaluate those patterns and to determine if they are our best interests and if they support us in growth and evolution. Life constantly requires change. Life is about adaptation. Those that cannot adjust to a changing environment are subject to extinction. In our present world, it is us that are being asked to adapt. We have many that are leaving this world for one reason or another. It is sad to see, but we have to take charge of our reality and make new choices that will help us adapt to this changing world. While this is a strain on everyone, I believe that knowledge, acceptance, and through a willingness to take responsibility, we can make it through this moment. The astrology today. In the astrology, it is a simple day. The moon brings us a boldness and a desire for actions that align with our impulsive nature while it is in Aries. Venus and Uranus will quincux, and while one is breaking things up and that used to give us comfort, the other is wanting to find a way to integrate the fact that we all need each other. There is a closeness and connection that mixes with our free-spirited nature, giving us a sense that we are not alone in what we feel, nor are we required to figure it all out for ourselves. Confidence is not high, and there is a feeling that just wants to walk away rather than even try to explain or make our point. While there is an underlying irritation that seems to be scratching in our mind, trying to get us to realize that something is just not quite right. But the details seem to evade our awareness. My quote for today: I have watched fear take over a soul. I have watched fear externally take a toll. I have learned that what we fear on the inside is what we are afraid to show and will often hide. Arrogance is fear being hidden by the mind. Arrogance is what makes souls unkind. Arrogance intends to always be right. Arrogance is always trying to pick a fight. And my blog for today. I think back on the many events in my life, and I recognize that while I tried to be fully present in those moments, I can also feel the anxiousness and trepidation that followed me through my youth. I believe that so many things in life are inherited. My mother was a premature baby, and she was the only baby of her birth weight to survive back then. The only reason she survived was because the hospital got the first incubator 1 week before she was born. I've noticed that with many adults or children that were premature, that circumstance causes an anxiety that can follow them throughout their lives. It is as if something was happening emotionally, energetically, when they were trying to and needing to be born early. They knew that they were not ready. So new things seemed scarier to them than those born at the proper time. My mother spent her entire life with a severe anxiety disorder that manifested in every way possible. While she was very loving and wonderfully affectionate as a mom, she also had a hard time with any forms of change. And when there was anything new, she would first go into a panic, refuse to do those things such as a trip or a new experience. Eventually, she would come around, but it was difficult on all of us because of the emotional roller coaster that it put us on. When we would go camping, the weeks before any trip were extremely difficult for her, and she would be going back and forth about going and not going. Once we got on the road, she would be fine and she would enjoy herself, but anxiety and that constant feeling impacted myself and my sister. It made my sister mad. My sister rejected my mother's constant worry and concern, and I unfortunately picked some of it up. Her pattern allowed me to face my fears because I knew I did not want to have a life that looked like my mother's constant worry and upset. Yet it was a pattern that I felt inside, even though on the outside, I might seem to others as if I was a go getter. As maturity and hormones shift with age, I find myself calmer and more present. It helps to have a very quiet lifestyle and to be on land in which nature rules and the tempos are followed that are within the rhythms and patterns of the seasons. So, from this calmer place, I can still see the fear that compelled me to take risks that would help me find confidence that I was going to need for this life. And I can see how this life was a process to release the fear that I inherited from my mother and that I observed. The fear that I had inherited, the fear of change that plagued my own mother, and the fear of new things were something that I got to constantly confront. So I totally know change is difficult for everyone, some more than others. Today, notice what you might have inherited from your own family. Then decide if it is really what you want to show the world or if there is some pattern that is asking you to break through. Discovering who you are separate from the inherited traits of this DNA are essential to becoming the truest expression of your heart in this life. Thanks, everyone.